Bismillah.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulih al-kareem. We express our praise and gratitude to Allah Ta'ala. We seek blessings on the Prophet, peace be upon him. Okay, so we're doing a little bit of the review, and in Ayah 5, there is nothing hidden from Allah in the heavens or the earth. And from there, Ayah 6, هُوَ الَّذِي يُصَوِّرُكُمْ فِي الْأَرْحَامِ كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ. He is the one who forms you in the wombs the way He wills. La ilaha illahu al-azizul hakim. And there is no ilah but Allah. He is the mighty and He is the wise. So first thing, the word, what's the word in Arabic for womb? Raham, which comes from the same root word that rahma is coming from. And so what is the point to think about that? When we speak of rahma, it's not just mercy, right? It's a mercy that has love built into it. It's a mercy that is bringing the mercy giver and the mercy receiver closer to each other. This is rahma. So rahma is not just mercy. Just like the experience in the womb where a baby is completely taken care of, right? Taken care of by the mother, taken care of by Allah Ta'ala. So that's the first thing to think about. Another thing is that here Allah Ta'ala is the one who is controlling what is in the womb. In terms of Christianity, this is also an important point because Isa alayhi salam also was born just like everyone else, except that he did not have a father. Right? So what are we saying here that from our perspective, Allah Ta'ala is making Isa alayhi salam in the womb of Maryam alayhi salam, right? But that does not make him God. Allah is the one who is doing it. Okay. Whereas for many Christians, that's a sign that He is God, that He does not have a father. And we're going to address that more. In addition, this is also addressing things that are beyond our control. So it is not in my control to decide when I'm going to be born, obviously. It is not in my control to decide who my parents are going to be. So Allah Ta'ala has chosen for each of us to be born where and when we're going to be born with the parents that we're going to be born with. Okay. You know, sometimes we like to think that, okay, imagine if we lived at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, how wonderful would that be? But it was Allah Ta'ala's will for me to be born when I was born with my parents. Okay, that's His choice. So there are some aspects of life that I have no control over. What are other things that I have no control over? What do you think? When and where I'm going to die, I have no control over. This is also set, right? Have we talked about the story of the companion of Sulaiman alayhi salam? Have we done that story? Okay, this is a good story. So Sulaiman alayhi salam, as we're taught, he had the ability to control wind. He could talk to birds. He could hear the voices of ants. He had many, many special abilities that Allah Ta'ala gave to him. So one of his sahabas, one of his companions, asked him, okay, can you send me to India right now? Can you just like that? And Sulaiman alayhi salam asks him, why? Why do you want to go to India? Okay. And he says that, okay, I see this man looking at me, this strange man, and I think he's the angel of death. Okay. Right. And Sulaiman alayhi salam says, okay, well, you know you can't escape death. He says, yeah, I know, but just in case, can you send me to India? So Sulaiman alayhi salam does something, and immediately the man is in India. And in India, he meets the same person. Okay. And then the person is the angel of death. And so the man asks Sulaiman alayhi salam, okay, when you saw me back there, why did you give me this funny look? And the angel of death said, because my appointment was to take you from India, and I didn't know why you were here. Right? Yeah. So, true or not, it's a good story. So the point is that I have no control over my birth. I also have no control over my death. That when it is time for me to die, it is time for me to die. There's no way for me to escape it. When the location for me to die is also set, there's no way for me to escape. So if I'm going to die at 12:35 p.m. on this spot, somehow or other, I'm going to make it there. I'm going to die. Whether by getting hit by something, whether by illness, it's set. So from there, what are we saying? That if I should not have dissatisfaction over the condition of my birth. I should not have dissatisfaction over anything about me that is biological. I mean, a lot of people in our society have dissatisfaction over their ethnicity. They have dissatisfaction over their race. Okay. So these are things that Allah Ta'ala has chosen for you. Okay. And also, when it comes to death, all of us have faced death of loved ones, that I can't do anything to extend my life or my loved one's life, so the focus is not on length of life, the focus is on quality of life. So if the moment of death is set, should we have medicine? Physicians?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
If it's already set, then I can't do anything about it?
No, then dua
Okay.
and dawa, both.
Okay, dua and dawa?
It is
Yeah.
sunnah to get medication.
Sorry?
It is sunnah.
It's definitely a sunnah, right, for healing, that if I'm sick, I should be doing what it takes for healing. Again, the point is to focus on the quality of life.
Yeah, I mean, the physicians give medicine to make them feel better, not to, in that process,
Hopefully,
if
I
the
mean-
life gets extended,
Mhm.
I don't think it's in the physician's hand.
Yeah, this is the key, that as the physician, you're giving whatever will bring health. That's the goal. The goal is to bring health, to remove illness. So yeah, of course that we should still go to physicians. But the deeper point I'm making is what? That very often in our communities we have this fatalism, right? That I have no control over everything, so I should give up. That's not our deen. You know? That here we're saying there's a few things that you can't change no matter what. You know? But beyond that, you still have to work according to the best of your ability, the way you live your life, earning, health, all those things. But this is a very big problem in many parts of our community across the world, where we start saying, okay, you know, this is my kismat, and I have no choice, and that is not healthy from an Islamic perspective.
Then what about taqdeer?
So qadr or taqdeer, the basic point is that it's written no matter what. It's already said. So there was this case when Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, he was the Khalifa. Okay. And there was a famine and a disease in Syria. Okay. And first, Umar and his forces were headed towards Syria. Okay. And then when they found out there was a famine and a disease, he started turning to a different direction. And one of his companions said, why are you trying to avoid the qadr of Allah? And he said, well, for starters, I'm surprised to hear this from you, but he said, we're going from the qadr of Allah to the qadr of Allah. I mean, you can't escape the qadr of Allah, but the point is that you have to make your choices, you have to stay out of harm's way, and the qadr of Allah is going to
Still
happen.
your qadr.
Yeah, exactly. When I'm making dua, right, I'm kind of asking for a change in the qadr, but my dua is also part of my qadr. Right.
It might also correlate with that. Is that
Ji.
I read Hazrat Ali, or you might correct me with that. Hazrat Ali said that one guy came, he said, there is no reason to do dua anymore because everything is written, so why should I do dua? So Ali typically said to him that it might be written that at a certain point when you do dua, it might be approved
Yeah,
for you. It
and
might
that's
be
also part
granted
of the
for you.
qadr, yeah,
So you have to do the dua with
absolutely.
hope that it might get approved.
Mhm.
So your taqdeer might change if you do dua.
So the taqdeer includes the fact that your taqdeer will change.
Change, yeah.
Yeah.
So it might
So
be
it's
as,
all there.
it might be just waiting for you to do the dua.
Yeah. So the key point, I mean, the easiest way to look at it is, do you have free will and ability to control yourself? Obviously you do. So everything else just becomes theoretical as far as we're concerned, right? You have the ability to control your choices, and you'll be held to account for that.
So when the choice comes,
Your choice is basically anytime you're doing anything, right? So,
then when they qadr.
so I'm saying the qadr part, you don't need to worry about it. So here's the easiest way to look at this. You have complete choice over everything, but from your perspective, everybody else in the room, Allah Ta'ala's already written what they're going to do. Okay. But you have free will. Okay. From my perspective, I have free will to decide what I want to do. From my perspective, looking at all of you, Allah Ta'ala has written everything for you. See what we're saying? Let's go back to Ayah 6 and Ayah 7. Surah 2, Surah 2. Right at the beginning, Ayah 6 and 7. Ayah 6 and 7. All the way at the beginning. إن الذين كفروا سواء عليهم يجي سورة البقرة
Surah Baqarah ayat 6 and 7?
آية 6 and آية 7.
6 and 7.
As for those who disbelieve, it makes no difference whether you warn them or not. They will not believe. God has sealed their hearts and their ears, and their eyes are covered. They will have great torment.
Okay.
So it means you don't do also better.
So Ayah 6 is saying they disbelieve, right? As for those who disbelieve, as for those who reject, it is the same for them. If you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe, right? Ayah 7, Allah has sealed their hearts and their hearing and put a covering on their eyes, and for them is a big doom. Yeah. If you look at Ayah 6, they're the one making the choice. Okay? They're the ones who disbelieve. If you look at Ayah 7, Allah Ta'ala is the one who's making the choice. So meaning, they're both true. So my choice, all the choices that I make, that is the qadr of Allah. That is the taqdeer. Yeah. But I feel like I'm making the choice. But Allah Ta'ala has already written it. So think about it this way. You're writing a story. And you have a character in the story. So imagine this in your mind right now. Imagine a baby being born. Okay, everyone's imagining this? Okay, baby is being born, parents are there, everyone's happy. Okay. Now imagine the baby is 3 months old, the baby's growing, baby's feeding. 5 months old, baby's beginning to sit down. Good. 10 months old, baby is crawling. Good. Now, a year, 13 months old, the baby is walking. Okay. Now jump forward, the baby's 3 years old, baby's in preschool, dressed like a little child, going to preschool. Now, a few years later, the baby's in 5th grade. Okay, so now it's a little child. Okay. Now, the baby's in high school. Okay, so now it's a growing young person. Okay. Now, that person's in college. Okay. Now, that person is married. Okay. And that person has a job. Okay. And the person has a child. Okay. Now, even moving forward, the person is 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old. Let's say 85 years old, 90 years old. Now that adult is getting old and weak, and the adult dies. Okay. So all of you just controlled this person's life. From that person's imagination, that person thought they lived a whole life. So this is what you and I are, right? That's a cool ringer, mashallah. Okay, so Allah Ta'ala has already written everything for me, but as far as I can tell, I'm making all the choices. And so the key thing, the most important thing is, you know you have choice. I'm moving my hands, I'm choosing to move my hands. On the day of judgment, I am going to be held to account for that. But it is, all written, but I don't need to worry about that, right? Here's where it's important to think about what's written, what is taqdeer. Let's go to Surah Al-Hadid, Surah 57.
57.
What? 57?
57.
Which ayah?
I think it's ayah 20.
Ayan?
No, ayah 22.
22.
Surah 57, ayah 22. ما أصاب من مصيبة في الأرض ولا في أنفسهم إلا في كتاب من قبل. Okay. So 57, Surah 57, ayah 22 says, no disaster on the earth or inside yourself hits you except that it's already written. Meaning every disaster on the earth is already written. Every disaster inside of you is already written. Good. Okay, this is easy for Allah. And then ayah 23. Why? So you do not despair over what you have lost. So what are we saying? The real purpose to understand taqdeer is not, do I have any control? Because obviously I have control over things, right? I'm deciding to lift up this phone right now. The real issue of taqdeer is when you're hit with tragedy, you say this was Allah's will. So I'll give you a small, easy example. So I was meeting my friend to go to dinner at a restaurant. And when I parked my car, I looked everywhere for a sign that says no parking. Okay. Everywhere. I couldn't find any sign. Okay. And then I went inside, had dinner, came out, parking ticket. Okay. And then I looked right in front of my car, no parking. First time when I was there, I looked everywhere. I didn't see any sign. Okay. So I just had to say that was the qadr of Allah. Right? The qadr of Allah, I looked, but I didn't see anything. Allah Ta'ala didn't let me see the sign. So the parking ticket, it was Allah's will. Good. Then a year later, maybe 2 years later, I went to the same restaurant. I said, I'm not going to park here because I know I can't park here. Drove around in circles around the restaurant, found a place where I can park, and I'm looking at a sign that says no parking from this time to this time. And I keep looking, okay, my watch says fine. Okay, no parking from this time to this time. Fine, I can park. I went inside the restaurant, came out, ticket. Okay. And I looked at the sign again, and it says obviously no parking from this time to this time. That's what time it was. I even stared at the sign, and I couldn't see that was the time. So that we say is the qadr of Allah, right? You do your part. You do your part to the best of your ability. Everything else Allah Ta'ala controls. So the point being that if you're hit with a disaster, so go back to the example when we have a loved one who dies. What's the first thing we do? If only I did this, they'd still be alive. If only I did this, I should have done this, I should have done this. The point is, no, it's the qadr of Allah for them to die. So the importance of the qadr of Allah is not, okay, what control do I have? The importance of qadr of Allah is all those things I have no control over to say, okay, it was Allah's will. Suppose, every time, growing up, every time we went to a dinner party, what's my mother's first concern? Is tiri bande, right? Right? Is the iron off? Is the oven off? Okay. Oven's always off, iron's always off. But what if that one time the iron's on and the whole house burns down? Okay. Then you say that was the qadr of Allah. Right? So you're looking at the tragedies that happened, you say this was Allah's control. Because, for example, you have two people who smoke. One person is healthy, the other person has emphysema. So it was Allah's choice. This person got sick, not that person. Right? Or the other side. So it says, ayah 23, why is this all written? So you don't have despair, so you don't give up hope. Or the other part of ayah 23, so you don't boast over what He has given you. So what else is the qadr of Allah? The other part of the qadr of Allah is whatever I earn. Okay. So let's say, mashallah, I get very wealthy. And then I start getting arrogant. Look, I work so hard for my wealth, you guys don't do anything. Okay. Because you'll have two people who apply for a job, one person gets it. That's the qadr of Allah. Both of them have to apply. But it's the qadr of Allah who gets it. Right? And so the key point I'm making is the key of qadr of Allah is to help you cope with difficulty. You can say this is beyond my control. Or to make sure you don't get arrogant for your successes. And you say that's beyond my control too. Everything else you focus on your own choice. See what I'm saying? That the core is these are your choices. All of us came here, we can say, yeah, it's a qadr of Allah, but you came here because it was your choice. And on the Day of Judgment, I'll be held to account for what I can control. I'm not going to be held to account for what I don't have any control over. This is the biggest question that I get from everyone. 5-year-olds ask me this question, right? 11-year-olds, 20-year-olds, everybody asks, this is the biggest question. How do we have choice if there's qadr of Allah? Yeah. Yes, sir?
The way I look at it is we have the freedom to make choices, free will, but Allah already knows what choice we're going to make. That's why it's written beforehand.
Yeah, He knows. We can also say He's the one who's controlling it, but we're saying we don't need to know what He's controlling. Right? But on the Day of Judgment, I'm going to get justice for whatever I've done, inshallah. Right? Yeah. But the key point is focus on what I have control over. But this ayah, back to ayah 6 in Al-Imran, is introducing what I don't have control over. Okay. So there are things in life that I have no control over, which also means I should not worry as much as I do about many things. Okay, as parents, we're designed to worry about every inch. But we should not worry about things we have no control over. So, for example, I was talking to a friend of mine. He's not Muslim. He lives in Australia, and he grew up in the Philippines, moved to Malaysia, and now he lives in Australia. And mashallah, he's now living pretty well. But he's constantly afraid he's going to lose his job. Okay? So why worry about it? You have no control over this. You still have to do the best you can. But, you know, there's no point in worrying over something you can't control. Worry over the things you can control. That's not easy. But this is one thing to understand. In Ayah 6, He's the one who makes you in the wombs the way He wishes. Yes, sir?
If you thinking that if I lose a job, everything will be a loss, isn't the way you're losing faith in Allah that He will not take care of you?
That's a very important point, right? You always have to understand Allah Ta'ala is that He is always going to take care of you, right? Doesn't mean you're going to have an easy life. It's a guarantee you're going to be hit, right? But you always have to understand that you're never going to have to cheat. And so the point is that sometimes we live in fear. Okay, I have to make sure nothing falls apart. Car, house. And the point is, no point in living in fear. Rather, when Allah Ta'ala gives me a challenge, then I'll face it. Okay? That's two different things. One person will live in fear all the time. You know, what's going to happen with my car? What's going to happen with my house? And it's always fear, constant fear. And that person's not very happy. The other person says, okay, Alhamdulillah for my situation right now. But when I get hit, it's a guarantee I will be hit. I can handle it. Okay? Allah Ta'ala guarantees He will hit me, and He guarantees He will not hit me with anything I can't handle. So whatever I get hit with, I can take. I'll face it when it comes. Because what does Allah Ta'ala say in the Quran? Are you sure you're not going to have a sinkhole that's going to suck you in? Okay? There's no limit on what to worry about. And so the point is, only worry about the things you need to, like your akhirah, your family's akhirah. Yes?
It's interesting how this is working for us, the idea that you're not going to get any burden more than you can bear.
Mm-hmm.
That's forewritten too.
Yes.
And we should appreciate that, that bit of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Covered.
Very, very important point, yeah.
There's one Christian preacher who said that there is no safe position in life.
There's no safe position in life.
like.
Interesting, yeah, I think that's true.
Be in a safe position.
I mean, is there any place in the world that's safe from natural disaster? Right, Chicago, we have tornadoes, you know, Miami, they have hurricanes, right, there's no place that's safe. But that's the point, right? You know, any moment we could get into a car accident. I mean, you don't worry about it now, worry about it when it happens. Which I think is very hard to do, but that's the lesson here. Okay. We'll go through Ayah 7. We'll introduce it. I don't know if we'll complete it. This is a very big ayah. Overall, what are we talking about? That Allah Ta'ala is the one who's written everything. He's given the kitab, He's written our qadar, but then in the kitab, He has two types of ayahs. This is a very, very big ayah to know. هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن الكتاب وأخر متشابهات. He is the one who sent down the kitab, and in it are ayat that are muhkamat. So I don't know what your translations say. Muhkamat will be categorical, clear ayahs. Cornerstones? Yeah, that's good. Okay, they are essentially the literal translation. They are the mother of the book. They're the foundation, cornerstone of the book. And the other type of ayah is mutashabihat, which we would say metaphor, allegory, those type of things. Ambiguous, yeah. So clear ayahs and ambiguous ayahs. What is an example of a clear ayah? Everyone agrees it's clear. What would be an example? Even easier than haram. Sorry? Even easier than obey Allah. What do you say?
One God.
One God. La ilaha illahu. Easiest thing. Absolutely clear. Okay. And then from there you can say what is fard, what is haram. It is absolutely clear. Okay. And then things become less clear. So the point is the foundation of the book is the clear ayah. Starting with La ilaha illahu, which is right above. Right? Literally the previous ayah. La ilaha illahu wal azizul hakim. There is no God but Him, the exalted and might the wise. But then, give me an example of mutashabihat, something that's ambiguous. Another easy question.
Like I said,
Something is in
innamal
the
a'malu
hand of Allah.
Easier than that.
easy.
Alif Lam Mim. Right? I mean, no one knows what this means. So the point is, the foundation of the book is what's clear. Okay? This is also the foundation on how to live life. Okay? You focus on what is clear. Again, the point I just made was, why worry about something I have no control over? Worry about the things you have control over. Okay? And the things you have no control over or you don't know, make dua about those things. Right? We do the best to protect ourselves from anything and everything, but there's some limit. You know, you lock your doors, you close your windows, but how much protection are you going to do? Maybe you'll have a house alarm, maybe, but there at some point there's some limit. So you look at what you can control. So he has two types of ayat. Those that are clear, they're the foundation of the book, and then those that are ambiguous, those that are vague, mysterious. But فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ. As for those people who have some sort of corruption in their heart, فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ. They follow the mutashabihat. They follow the ambiguous ayahs. Again, those of us who are older, we don't have to worry about this. Those who are younger, this is a problem that teenagers often have, and sometimes 20-year-olds, is they don't look at what's in front of them. They look at their imagination. I have to worry about this, I have to worry about this, I have to worry about this. And the point I have to keep telling them, okay, look at the ground in front of you, that's what you focus on. So I have a student, I think I've told you about this, who he's halfway into med school, he's learning neurology, and in neurology he's being told, okay, what you see may not actually be reality. It could all be inside your brain, it could all be synapses in your mind. So he's coming to me because he doesn't know if he believes in Allah anymore. But then I asked him, can you tell me you're sitting in front of me? He says, I don't know. Right? Because he's saying maybe this is all my imagination in my brain. Right? And so the point I had to make to him was, okay, forget all this theoretical stuff. Okay? You're sitting here in front of me, that's concrete, and that's where you start. So the point here is the same, that you look at what is concrete in the Quran, and that's your foundation. Those things that don't make sense, those things that are ambiguous, those things that are too hard to understand, you get to those later. Right? There's plenty ayahs like those. There's plenty hadith like that where, okay, I don't know how this makes sense right now. I'm not worrying about this right now. If I need to know, I'll find out later. First, I'm focusing on what I need to know. Okay. But then why are some people doing this? Whether or not they realize it, they're trying to cause discord in the community. And this is what you find when you look at the different firqas in Islam. Okay. That you find many of the firqas, where do they actually split? They split on the abstract issues. They don't split on the concrete issues. They split on all the abstract stuff, right? So, for example, if you take an Ahmadiyya translation of the Quran, and you look at Alif Lam Mim, how do they translate Alif Lam Mim? You don't see Alif Lam Mim. They'll say, I, Allah, am the best knower. Okay. If you look at the translation of Hamim, it'll say beneficent God. It won't say Hamim. Right? And so, this is where you see a lot of the firqas being formed. They look at those ayahs, all the ones that no one knows the meaning, and then they give definitions to those. If you look at the nation of Islam, right, Elijah Muhammad, you see all kinds of definitions being given for those abstract things. And they skip the concrete things. That's exactly what this ayah is saying.
You want to edit this out? Or? You want
No,
to
that's
edit
fine.
this out? Is that
I mean, if you want, you can, but
okay.
yeah. So no one knows the true interpretation except for Allah. And then it says, those who are firm in knowledge say, we believe in it, all of it is from our Lord. Okay. So, what are we saying here? The muhkamat, what is my attitude I should have? I believe in it, and it's from Allah. The mutashabihat, what should be my attitude? I believe in it, it is from Allah. Okay. Meaning, even if I don't understand it, I regard it as truth. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of things in the Quran that I might try to be able to explain, but maybe I don't understand. But Allah Ta'ala knows.
Just a technical point. we were just talking about the translation that is like metaphor, allegory, but I don't think it's strictly that. There are metaphors in the Quran that are clear, and then there are maybe these, like Alif Lam Mim is not necessarily a metaphor, it is
Right.
what it is.
Yeah.
It might be literally.
Mhm.
So I would just say like the other words, like.
So mutashabihat,
contrasts or,
mutashabihat, we translate that as something like it looks like it's something like something else, right? The shabbaha means to kind of resemble something else, right? So muhkamat is clear. Mutashabihat looks like it resembles something, but you're not sure. See what we're saying?
Even description of the Jannah, like, just for explanation.
Description of Jannah is a very, very interesting point, because that could be both. Muhkamat, mutashabihat, right? That's why I'm saying, what does everyone agree? La ilaha illallah. Everyone agrees on the fard. In terms of Jannah, the general understanding is, okay, somehow this is true. Is it true physically like this? Allah knows best. Is this metaphor? Allah knows best. Yeah. But Alif Lam Mim would be the best example. So the last part of this ayah, okay, is no one knows the true meaning except for Allah. وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ, and those people who have knowledge, they say, okay, this is all from Allah, this is all from our Rabb, but no one will remember this except for ulul albab. What is your translation for the very last part of the ayah? Ulul albab. Those of understanding? Okay.
With real perception, only those with real perception.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So albab, ulul albab is a special description of a type of person that you see a number of times in the Quran. It basically translates as someone, or the meaning is someone who uses their intellect and they reflect on the world. Right? That Allah Ta'ala is given them a mind and they do fikr of the world. So sometimes the translation will be those who have hearts, meaning you're thinking with your heart. Because albab is the root word of lub, which is kind of the word of the one of the descriptions of the beating of the heart. So it's like those people who are alive and they live in the world. Okay, we'll actually stop here, although I know it's very, very quick, because I actually have to run. But the key points, we actually discussed some very huge points today. In ayah 6, this point that there are some things that I have no control over, that only Allah Ta'ala has control over, right? Ayah 7, Allah Ta'ala has not only written me, He's also written different types of ayats, and my focus should be on following what is clear. And then secondarily, mutashabihat will be there to help support what is clear, but I have to follow what is clear. So put that in another language, what are we saying? That everyone has questions, okay, what should the Muslims do? What should the Muslims do? And my answer to that is we all already have the answers. Yeah. Every single one of us already has plenty of Islamic knowledge on what Muslims need to do. The actual issue is application. Using the knowledge that we have and actually applying it. That's where I think the shortcoming is. There's not as much application taking place.
But it's just interesting that it says, hence those who are deeply rooted in knowledge, that is showing how humble they become once you have so much knowledge. On the other hand, practically, as you're saying, it's the other way that I know a lot. And
yeah, absolutely. That
interesting.
there's the line that a person with a bachelor's degree thinks there's an expert. A person with a master's degree believe they know a lot. A person with a PhD believes they don't know anything. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
knowledge in which sense? Like what knowledge? Is spiritual
Deen.
knowledge? Which knowledge?
Knowledge of deen.
Deen.
Yeah.
The deen is different than the word.
No doubt, but I'm saying in terms of knowledge of deen, all of us already have a lot more than we realize. And it's a matter of application.
I'm wondering why, not because, okay, this is hidden meaning, we don't know. But I'm wondering, why did he do it like that?
Yeah. I think
Why?
it's
What's the
part of the
best
test.
reason?
Just like, why did Allah Ta'ala put poison in the world?
No, but I mean, why did he have some of these ayahs which he didn't want to reveal?
Well, it's not so much that he didn't want to reveal. The way to understand what the shabahat is, they're supporting the muhkamat. So the ambiguous ayahs, they're supporting the clear ayahs. But if you skip past the clear ayahs and go to them, that's where the problem is. That's what we're saying. So imagine step 1, 2, and 3 is the clear ayahs. Step 4, 5, 6 is then you're using the clear ayahs to understand the ambiguous ayahs. But if you skip the clear ayahs, then you go straight to alif lam mim, and then you start interpreting it. And then it'll be going all kinds of directions. See what I'm saying? That just like with the recipe, first you have to do this, then you have to do this, then you have to do this. If you skip the first step, then you're going to make a mess. And that's essentially what Allah Ta'ala is saying. Or it seems to be.
Why?
That's the system He made.
Why so much?
Yeah, Allah knows best.
Allah knows
That's
best.
the answer. Yeah.
Allah knows best.
So,
We'll know when we grow up.
it's just like if we're not supposed to eat pork, why are there pigs?
Huh?
If we're not supposed to eat pork, right? So why did He make pigs? It was His
So when
will.
they fly, then they will all go to heaven. When they get wings or something.
So that's how he set up the whole system.
So, anyway.
Okay. So سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Okay, may Allah Ta'ala reward you all. Inshallah we'll continue again next Friday.
Inshallah.
آخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.